And away we go. It is the BCJ Podcast, brought to you by the Holy Grail, live from the Cincy Light Studios right here on BearcatJournal.com. You're downtown for whatever reason. I know this is going to be a surprise to some, but we are less than a month from pitchers and catchers reporting to Arizona. That means the Reds are right around the corner. Head to the Holy Grail anytime you are downtown, hitting up a Reds game once the spring arrives. And get yourself some great food, great drinks, and, of course, every Cincy Light purchased at the Holy Grail, an extra 50 cents goes back into the Cincy Reigns NIL Foundation. All right, let's get this show on the road. Hi, David.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
You're here because I pay you to be here.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
It was not a fun night at Fifth Third Arena. Unfortunately, there haven't been a lot of fun nights at Fifth Third Arena since the start of Big 12 play. We will get into it. And honestly, I'll get your thoughts. I don't think we need to talk a whole lot about last night. I think this conversation has to go a little bit deeper into how why we're here, how we got here, and how this changes. And I don't, it's probably, barring something miraculous happening, they kind of are who they are at this point. 2 games in, you can look at it and say, all right, 2 games is a pretty short sample size. 4 games, we're getting a little bit better idea, but still, things are evolving. 7 games, start to get a pretty good idea of, things that aren't trends, things that are who they are. They are who we thought they were. You're getting to that point with this team. And unfortunately, David, it ain't good. There's a lot to this that needs discussed. And I plan to get into that tonight. But before we do that, we will gloss over, and maybe it'll end up more than that, but I don't know that it will, because I think there are topics much more relevant and worth discussing than, rehashing the loss from last night after we did an hour on the game last night with Aaron, George, and I, that I thought was pretty in-depth and pretty detailed and a pretty honest evaluation of that game. But you haven't spoken on that game yet, so I will give you your turn. David Simone. Bearcats didn't get the job done against a good Texas Tech team.
Yeah, they did not. To put it bluntly, I am not interested in this basketball team whatsoever. They don't really do anything that appeals to me as a basketball fan. And I think we saw that pretty blatantly last night when they had a chance to do something to potentially turn their season around. They cut the lead to 5. They get fouled. A pretty good free throw shooter goes to the line with the opportunity to make it a 3-point game. Misses the front end of a 1-and-1, and then within 60 seconds, 90 seconds, it's a 9-point game.
Well, Day misses the free throw.
Right.
So you're still down 5. Mm-hmm. They come down and get a look from Toppin, I think it was Toppin, that Dylan Mitchell goaltends. Clearly yes. A goaltend. I know the crowd was upset, but
yeah,
ball was on its way down. It was a goaltend. They come down the floor. Dan Skillings turns it over. 2 more points for Texas Tech. Come down the floor. Dan Skillings turns it over again, I think. 2 more points from Texas Tech. And 5, 7, 9, 11. And a foul. You go into the under 4. You're at 5.5 minutes. You got a chance to cut it to 3. And by the under 4 timeout, you're down 11, and they're going to the line for 1 to make it 12.
Yeah. I just like we've talked so much about offense because that's been such a glaring issue. But I don't know what exactly you can. I mean, can you count on anything at this point on a night in, night out basis?
I think for the most part, you can still count on the defense. But what have we always talked about with even if you're a really good defensive team, when you play elite offenses, you're going to run into nights where they are one of they're shooting just under 40% from three as a team, Texas Tech.
Right. And I guess that's my issue is it's not a surprise.
Right.
And they just like we went from being one of the better 3-point defense teams to they made some. I mean, there were some good
easy shots.
They also made some tough shots, but they're a high volume, good 3-point shooting team. Like that's not a surprise. It should not be a surprise to you if a guy pulls up a couple feet behind the line. Like,
well, especially when you let them. They let them in that. I mean, I don't know if you saw this stat. I talked about it last night on the Aftermath. They held Texas Tech to 7 points in the first 8 minutes of the game.
Yeah, and then like 35.
And then they scored 35 in the next 12 minutes.
Yeah.
They were 6 of 7 from three.
Like, did you think they were just going to shoot that way the whole game?
Well, I don't think you were planning on them shooting 6 of 7 for a stretch either. But
when you're giving up the shots they were giving up, like,
yeah,
it wasn't like they were throwing things in at the end of the shot clock. They were running really good offense and getting mostly open looks and making them, which is what I would expect from a Big 12 basketball team, if we're being honest. Like, that's what I feel like we should expect from UC, and we don't get that. So, and then just the fact that, like, I had as many offensive rebounds as pretty much everybody on the team.
Well, Dylan,
and you allow they
I don't
3,
even remember.
One was a team rebound apparently. So
well,
2 guys had 1 offensive rebound each, and you couldn't tell me which 2 they had because it didn't seem like anybody got one all damn night.
I don't remember. It says Day Thomas had one. I don't remember.
Yeah,
I remember Dylan's because it was at the very end, and he tipped in a missed free throw.
Yeah,
the team one. You know what that was?
No.
Texas Tech blocked a shot out of bounds.
Yeah.
That's a team offensive rebound, right? Like, it's a shot and it went out of bounds and you retained possession.
Yeah, so
for bookkeeping purposes, that is considered an offensive rebound. Those were the offensive rebounds. We are going to get to
you give
rebound,
up
trust me.
10. I mean, 10 on how many missed shots? I mean, what was the percentage on that one?
Surprised they missed more shots than you think they did. They missed 33 shots.
All right, so they got a third of their offensive rebounds. So that's still really good.
That's really good.
I mean, what
really
anything over 25% is pretty good.
Yeah, Cincinnati got what 11% of their.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, and like you said at the jump, I don't really have any interest or need to dig into this game on its own. I'm just kind of sitting here at this point, and it's not something that I've been like waiting to say. It just kind of came to me last night. It's just kind of like, okay, we brought back the core. We added Dylan Mitchell and Arrington Page.
Who's been good.
And Arrington Page has played pretty well the last few games as well. The saying is always get old, stay old. They're old.
Yeah.
What are they better at this year than last year?
Very little. The numbers would say defense, and I would agree with that. Outside of Baylor and Texas Tech,
right? I mean, I'm sure statistically, and they're better at some, but like just watching them play and comparing it to how they played last year. I mean, Jizzle James is certainly not better than he was last year.
Nope.
Demas,
nope.
Dan had a 3-game run, and then all of a sudden he's totally disappeared. Simas, we thought, got his shot back, and then he got 5 shots off last night in a game that was pretty high paced and had 150 something combined points?
No, he got actually. I won't complain about that part of it. I'll complain about this part of it, which I did last night. He got 7 shots,
Okay.
which is okay. He got to the free throw line and made 7 of 8 free throws. If you're one of your best offensive players goes 7 of 8 from the free throw line, that's got to be a 17 to 20 point performance.
Yeah, because I mean, he's 5 for 12 from the field or something like that. With even if it's just like 1 3, that's a 18 like. But that's what I mean. Like, at what point do we? And I think we might be there. Do we just get off of the game by game, and we go, okay, what is actually happening here, and why is it happening? Because like it's much deeper than just, oh, they're missing open shots, or, oh, this team shot the ball really well. Like,
it is.
You can't you can't bring all these guys back and then not all. Like, I think Josh Reed is playing better. I think but he's a sub. I mean, you need your big guys to carry the team, and none of them have gotten any better.
What matters is you brought your 3 best offensive, or what you were, anticipating coming into the season, your 3 best offensive weapons back. And in the portal era, what did we talk about the entire offseason? In the portal era, there is supposed to be a large benefit for year 2. For if you hold a team together and you progress from year over year in a reasonable fact. You don't like. I don't even think this team needed to make a huge leap from where they were a year ago. Just a reasonable level of progression year over year. That's supposed to be a huge advantage. Like, Dave, if I told you coming into this season that Dylan Mitchell was going to come in and average 11 and 7, essentially. He's at 11.1 points and 6.8 rebounds a game.
I'd have been like, that's perfect.
He's shooting 63% from the floor on the season.
I'd have been like, that's a great addition to complement an ascending Jizzle James and Seamus and Dan. I've been like, that is a very strong four guys right there. You can win a lot of games with when a guy that plays like he does defensively, rebounding 11 and 7. And it's just not, I mean, like, and whenever I like, this is never a personal thing, but like, they ain't got no dogs, man. They have no dogs.
I mean, I would consider Dylan a dog, but he's being asked to do too much right now. Like, he does all the things you want a guy to do. He defends, he rebounds, he plays his ass off, he runs the floor. Like, in most scenarios, if the other guys were playing how they were supposed to be playing, we would be like, that's a dog, right? Like, that's the guy that's doing the dirty work. He's getting in passing lanes. He's frustrating guys. Darian Williams last night, like, I thought Dylan did a really good job taking him completely out of his game. He opened up stuff for other guys, but like, I think we would consider that type of thing. But because everybody else is failing to live up to expectations, and we're seeing it, like, it's almost like now, Dave, we're in this bizarro world where between Dan, Seamus, and Jizzle, only one of them can be good a game. Like, it's okay if 2 or 3 of you all play well at the same time. That's okay. You're allowed to do that. There is nothing in the rules that say you can't.
I would advise it.
I would too. I would too. But I do think I agree with your, like, the as a whole. I do think Dylan brings some of that, but it's not enough because nobody else is bringing it. Like,
right, and that's the thing is, like, if you want to be at the top of the SEC, the Big Ten, or the Big 12, you need like we need like a roster full of assholes, but like what did I say a couple weeks ago? Who's the dickhead on this team?
Yeah, I mean, but I think I know your point, but like I don't think there were any dickheads on Texas Tech's team. They just played good, fundamentally sound basketball.
No, I don't mean like in the sense of like starting a fight or something, but like
no, I know what you mean, but like I don't
they
know
did the dirty work. How many loose balls did they get to? How many offensive rebounds did they get to that looked like they were going to go to a UC guy?
Yeah,
like that's what I mean. Like
I know
who just puts their foot down. Like who puts their foot down and is like this shit is not going to continue. Like Austin says, how pissed is Wes right now? I don't know. Because the same shit keeps happening every game.
Dave, that's a joke from Wes coming into post-game press conferences and saying, I'm pissed off.
Oh, it is? Okay. Well, I don't listen to those because I think, I don't put much credence in those because what do you expect coaches to say right after they walk off the floor? Like, unless they're going to throw their players under the bus like Mick does. I mean,
our whole team sucks. Fuck these guys.
There's nothing they could say that would get my attention. But I don't. And hindsight's 2020, and I don't fault them at all for the way they went about constructing the roster.
I don't either. I don't even think.
Which I mean, like, if you're gonna go backwards and say that, okay, well, who would you want after last year? Not taking it from now and seeing what the first however many games it's been has proven. Who would you be like, oh yeah, that guy shouldn't have been asked to come back? Or like because they clearly need Natty Ron, they clearly need an alpha. They need a Jaron Cumberland, Sean Kilpatrick from years past. We talked all the time about the sum of the parts has to be better than the individuals. And we're seeing right now that when a couple of the parts are broken, how bad it can get. So I think in hindsight, you could say like, oh, they needed to get, but like, who are you telling to go? Who are you telling to leave?
Right. It would have been apocalyptic if, okay, we're going to let Jizzle go to Houston or wherever, one of the teams that wanted him, and we're going to bring in somebody else because, we don't think we're getting the right value there. We don't know that he's going to develop the way that he wanted.
It would have had to have been Jizzle or Dan.
Or Seamus.
Well,
think about Seamus. Right. I know, but I'm saying, like, in terms of fitting, the reason I say Seamus is, like, if you're going to bring Dylan, that pushes Seamus off of the 4 up to the 3. He's not really a 3. Like, I do think that is
one of those 3 guys.
Yeah. So if you're going to punt one of those 3 guys, this fan base would have been apoplectic at the time. They would have lost their damn minds.
Yeah.
Because the theory was, in theory, Dave, they were close last year. Like, I get annoyed today. People getting some of the, like, oh, they had an NIT team and they brought everybody back. Of course, no, they were 7 points away from being a really quality Big 12 team. Couple points here, couple points there. All of a sudden, 7-11 is 11-7, and you look like a really good Big 12 team. So you look at that and you say, okay, we're bringing everybody back. We're losing John Newman. We're replacing him with Dylan Mitchell, which I think is an upgrade. And we're basically essentially going to run it back with a group that was close, but with some development, and everybody's getting new teams, right? Like, everybody is changing their rosters around and like, okay, well, we should have an advantage. That advantage has not materialized. Period.
I mean, they were closer last year.
Yeah,
let's call a spade a spade.
Yep.
We spent how many weeks saying if they could just shoot bad and not terrible, how many more wins would they get? Shit, this year, shooting bad is getting them beaten by 14 and 10 and blown out at Baylor.
They shot okay at Baylor, actually. The crazy thing is they've shot it okay on the road.
The defense is dreadful. And that's why I'm like, that's why we're kind of to the point of insanity here where it's like, okay, what part of the team is going to suck tonight?
Yeah.
And keep us from winning.
Well, let's get to the heart of the matter. Enough of last night. Let's move on. And this will tie to last night, but in college basketball in 2025, if you're going to make 3 threes, you're going to lose. Period. Point blank. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you can only make 3 threes, you're going to lose. Dave, Texas Tech scored 27 more points from the 3-point line than Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And Cincinnati didn't take a lot of, they attacked downhill. They did a lot of the things we were talking about, wanting to see that we know this isn't a great 3-point shooting team. But if you can only make 3, if you can only make 3 threes, 9 points off of the 3-point line in this league against this competition, you're going to get – it's almost shocking they only lost by 11. When you just factor in that number, or 10, when you just factor in that number, 27 extra points from 3. You cannot be good in college basketball if every night you can't make 6 threes. You're going to have a bad game here and there.
I thought that was the thing we were supposed to be better at, though.
I agree. They're last. Well, here is, if you want to get into what is probably the fundamental flaw of the roster and the fundamental flaw of the offseason, Dave, was the anticipation that the trio of Jizzle, Day-Day, and Dan, who all shot 28% from 3 last year, were going to go into the 30s. Just even 32, 33. Nothing wild. Nobody looked at those 3 guys and said 37, 38% 3-point shooter.
That is not an unfair ask.
Right. But what are they doing? They're shooting. I think Jizzle's shooting 11% from 3 in Big 12 play. Dan hit a couple in those first 3 games. Hasn't really done it since. Day-Day has been cold. It doesn't matter. None of the rest. We'll get into some of the rest. We'll get into offensive rebounding, which is falling off a cliff for this team.
Yeah, you might have to eat some crow on that one, because
I will.
I remember
they had the potential.
We had a little
to be
back
one
and
of the best
forth
rebounding
at the
teams
beginning of the season. You went excellent rebounding. I was like, really? Yeah. I was like, I don't.
Well, Dave, last year they were the number 1 offensive rebounding team in the Big 12, better than Houston. They were the number 1 offensive rebounding team in the Big 12. In conference play, 13th out of 16.
Garbage.
Trash.
Terrell, you
Garbage.
in there? You in there, Terrell?
But those 2 things, the 3-point stuff, I never thought they were going to be a great 3-point shooting team. They were last in the Big 12. I did not expect a jump up to the top of the league, but I expected a jump towards the middle, a jump towards not disastrous. And they are, night in and night out, they go into these games and essentially don't have a chance against the best teams, against Kansas, Baylor, Arizona, Texas Tech, Iowa State, Houston. Against those 6 teams, 5-6 teams, they got no chance because they can't make a 3. They got no chance.
And that's assuming those teams are excellent defensive teams. That's just basic, can't make a 3.
No, that's just math. It doesn't matter. The level of the defense does not matter. This team is piss poor shooting the 3-pointer. Is that a short enough word for you, Natty Ron? Piss poor shooting the three. Right now, in conference, 26.4% from three. 16th in the conference. They are dead last in offensive efficiency. They are dead last in 3-point percentage. They are 12th in 2-point percentage, 14th from the free throw line. There's not a single damn thing they do offensively, threes, twos, free throws, that is even in the top 10. It's not good enough.
It's not even that it's not good enough. It's alarmingly bad.
That's fair.
Fair. I know fans and even us at times can get hyperbolic and with not hot takes, but just spur of the moment claims. To bring, I just cannot stop thinking about this. To bring all these guys back, to add consensus high level players, and to regress is so alarming to me on the grand scheme. I don't even care about each individual game.
Yeah.
Because, it was nice. They won 2 in a row. And then they played a team with a pulse, and they got dog walked. And in the 2 games that they won in a row, they had massive leads and blew both of them.
Yeah.
So,
Dave, with the way this offense performs, 11 is not a massive lead, sir. It is not. Because there will, there's going to be an 8-minute stretch where they don't score a field goal.
They were up 7. I thought they were up 17 in both the Colorado and Arizona State game.
It could be. They all blit. Maybe.
I know they were in the Arizona. I know they were in the Arizona State game.
But again, my point remains. That's what we talked about when those games happened. When you don't make a field goal for 8 minutes,
right?
It doesn't even have to be a run. They can just gradually walk you down by playing just normal on the offensive end of the floor.
Yeah,
the team doesn't even have to get hot.
It's essentially it's a quarter of a game that you don't score.
It's hard to stomach because it should not be this bad. It just shouldn't be. We have seen these guys do it. We have seen them running Wes's system, but you know what I mean? Same coaching staff, everything pretty much the same. And they're not living up to the standard that they set last year, which was supposed to be the baseline. That was supposed to be okay.
That was we've got a roster here's the starting line.
Correct.
We kind of, puzzle pieced it together for the first couple of years because of the portal and the coaching change, and we understand.
And the conference change, you were recruiting to the American, then you had to recruit to the Big 12. I think
and we know there's
a big part of it.
Yeah, we know there's an adjustment, whether fans want to admit it or not. It's the night in, night out adjustment of going from playing an AAC schedule to playing 18 quad 1, quad 2 games. That is hard. That is an adjustment when you have not been doing that. I mean, anybody that does anything athletically, if you ask them to go okay, you're used to running a whatever minute mile. Now you've got to go run this minute mile. You try, but it's an adjustment. But this year, all that stuff is out the window to me.
I agree.
I think, again, what is it? They're 2-5, so 13 conference games left.
Mm-hmm.
And in a conference like this, you have opportunities. Now, I think maybe you have a few less than we thought going into the season, just because I don't think the Big 12 top to bottom is quite as good as we.
It's still pretty elite at the top.
It's right, but they don't really
The
have.
middle is okay.
They don't have like double ups against anybody at the top.
Baylor, but Baylor's a bubble team right now.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, they don't have Houston, Iowa State, Arizona, or Kansas twice.
Or Texas Tech, right?
Correct.
Do they go to Tech? I don't even know.
No, they don't. I don't think.
I'm to the point where like I'm kind of don't even know like when their next game is.
I mean, the only real elite games left are at Iowa State, at Houston, and then Baylor is 25 and Ken Palm at home. The Ken Palm numbers the rest of the way: 38, 81, 43, 70, 38, 81, 43, 74, and then 25 and 3 Baylor and Houston, and then 96 Kansas State, 111 Oklahoma. So there's not a lot of like, you've got Iowa State on the road, West Virginia on the road, Baylor at home, Houston on the road are your quote unquote marquee games left.
Yeah, good luck in Ames and Houston.
Did you see Iowa State last night?
Nope.
How many points do you think Iowa State scored last night against UCF? Take a shot in the dark. Don't look.
84.
They probably had 84 with 10 minutes left.
No.
They scored 108.
UCF doesn't play a lot of defense, apparently, because their last game I saw, Arizona State, there was 90-something to whatever,
yeah.
you know. Which,
108. 108, Dave.
Unless they're just letting the Bearcats drive to the free reign to the basket, it doesn't. I don't know if it matters.
Yeah, Houston beat Utah 70-36 tonight.
I made a gentleman's bet or not a gentleman's bet, actually. It was one ice cold beer.
One singular ice cold beer.
With
Cincy Light, of course.
Yes, of course. A mutual friend. And I put this was, I don't know when this was. It was not this week, and I don't even know if it was last week. I put the over under at 5.5 Big 12 wins. I took the under.
They're still projected for 9. Here's the thing that's we'll get into the everybody's talking point today, how bad they are in Q1 games.
Oh, okay.
6-35, I think, in Q1 games under West, 6-36, something like that in quad 1 games under West. I throw the first 2 years out because they just weren't good. Like the roster was in shambles. Like I don't put a lot of weight on that because they were trying to.
much bigger concern is that they suck at home in the second year in the Big 12. No, I'm just saying, like in the Big 12.
Yeah,
the last year and a half, they're like 350, 400 winning percentage at home.
Yeah, Joe, that's it. It's because of the quad 1. Like, let's give an accurate representation of what we're talking about. They are bad in quad 1 under West. Bad.
Yeah.
They have been really good. They've been really good quad 2, quad 3. Like, really good. Like, they are doing what they're supposed to do in quad 2 and quad 3 games. But they can't get over the hump against quad 1 teams. They can't. And if you're going to make the tournament, you got to have quad 1 wins.
Well, yeah, I mean,
you've got to beat teams that are tournament teams.
That stat is 35 quad 2 and 3 wins.
Well, they have 6 quad 1 wins.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Just not they're all on the road or neutral?
Yeah. Yeah. But again, that's a little deceiving because it's like 70 to get a quad 1 win on the road. It's 30 to get a quad 1 win at home. You have to beat a really good team to get a quad 1 win at home.
It's just the home stuff. I don't care what quadrant. Who are the good teams? Who are the good teams we've beaten at home?
They're 0-10 quad 1 at home.
That's all I care about. Like
this top 30 games.
You build a brand new arena. The fans do a great job coming out to support. Every other program that aspires to be something, their home court or home field in football or whatever, is thought to be like you're just not going to go in there and win. Like you're going to have to find your win somewhere else. That is not UC.
No.
We saw it last year where the fucking terrible Oklahoma State team came in here and put up, 90?
Yeah.
85, 90?
It was a lot.
Like,
I can tell you here in a
no
second.
one is afraid to come play at UC. No one. And no one should be based on the last year and a half.
It's 80-76. Oklahoma State put up 80.
Yeah, well, that's about what? Probably 20 more than what they averaged. I mean,
right. They were bad.
They fired their coach and everybody transferred, but yet they came in here and scored 80.
Uh-huh.
That, I don't care about quad one and, like, just, if you just won your damn home games, we wouldn't have to have this conversation at all.
Right.
At all.
The other area that is concerning,
There's
incredibly concerning, is the rebounding. If you look at a season ago, nationally, they were 15th in the country in offensive rebound, 35th in defensive rebounding. They were, they rebounded 36.3% of their misses offensively. In conference, they were number 1 in the Big 12 in offensive rebound and number 6 in defensive rebounding. That is what I talked about in the offseason when I said I expected this to be an elite rebounding team. Because outside of John Newman, you're returning everybody from that group, really. And Dylan Mitchell has come in and given you 7 rebounds a game. Like you should be an elite rebounding team. You should be a top 10, 15 rebounding team in the country with a group returning that was as good on the glass as they were a year ago. And right now, they are 55th in the country in offensive rebounding, 34% of their offensive misses, but that has been dropping like a lead balloon, much like their offensive efficiency. And they're 139th in defensive rebounding percentage. Opponents are getting 29.2% of their offensive rebounds. And in conference, they have gone from number 1 in offensive rebounding percentage to number 13. If you're going to miss, and they miss, and you can't be a good offensive rebounding team, you stink on offense. In every possible, imaginable metric, you stink on offense.
We watched 3 decades of winning basketball of put it up and go get it.
Yeah. 16th in 3-point percentage, 12th in 2-point percentage, 13th in offensive rebounding. That is a disaster. A disaster of epic proportions.
Where my dog's at.
And that's, you can, for a game, you can play the ball bounce their way.
Exactly.
But for where we are at,
there's certainly technique and you could, at the highest level, they obviously have ways to you work on rebounding, but it's effort and attitude.
Well, how many times are we seeing the other team poke a ball away? Or like a perfect example for me, last night, late in the game, there's a ball in the air. Dan is 6 inches taller than the dude. Goes up over him and doesn't snatch it. And the ball gets tipped out of bounds. They go review. It's off Dan. 6 inches. Go grab the damn basketball. If they call over the back, fine.
Who cares? You're down the damn ball. You're losing the game. You got to get the ball. If you get a foul call, you get a foul call. Like, that's That doesn't, right. Or the refs stink and they don't call it.
Yeah.
But you can't even put him in a position to make that play if you don't go get the ball.
Go get the ball. Go grab it. Snatch it. Yeah, Joe, you're spiraling down the drain, Joe.
They can't decommit.
Sean Abayev and Keyshawn Tillery are signed. They are committed to Cincinnati. That it's that part isn't going to happen. I mean, could it? Sure. They can ask out of their letter of intent and da-da-da-da-da. But it's not as simple as that's not how this works. Well, they're having a bad stretch, so I'm out. It's not how it works. Am I the only one that doesn't feel like Dan looks 100%? I think he looks fine. I think he's playing like crap. I'm not writing that off to injury. He is running into the middle of the chest of every screen. He is not fighting through or over. He is doing small, fundamental stuff wrong. He's not being aggressive on the glass. That's his superpower, is his ability with his length to go get the ball. And he's standing and watching. He's not going and getting it. He's not being aggressive. He's not being assertive. There's nothing about his knee injury that I believe is it probably bothering him a little? Sure. Does that mean he gets to not give the proper effort? He gets to not play with the proper technique?
If you can play 30 plus minutes a game, you're not fucking hurt.
Right.
Yeah. I just don't have any time for that. You can't be aggressive offensively with the ball in your hand and then not be aggressive rebounding and then be like, oh, well, it's my knee. Well, you didn't have any knee. Your knee isn't a problem when you're driving to the basket.
And doing all of its,
Right.
His knee ain't bothering him then?
No.
Is he making a financial decision to not do some of those things? These guys are getting paid now, Dave. I think it's a fair question to ask. Is he looking forward and saying, if I do that, that puts me at risk to do something, hurt the other knee or be back out for another 6 weeks? He doesn't look like he's, as you said, he doesn't look like he's hurting on offense when he's got the ball in his hands. So I'm not going to give him the cop-out of saying he is no longer aggressive going to get rebounds because his knee is bothering him when his knee is not bothering him when he's got a chance to go score.
Yeah. No, it's all pretty good.
And his defense is sloppy. The tape will show it. His defense is sloppy. He is running square into the chest of screen all over the floor.
How does that happen continuously?
Right? That's an effort. That's a basketball IQ and effort thing. Your teammates are calling out the screens. There's going to be a high ball screen. It's right. The guy's standing right there. And you run right into the middle of his chest. That's coming. It goes back to the mistakes he was making. They are the same mistakes he made as a freshman that he's now making as a junior. That he didn't make many of. He was much better at it last year, which were signs of that progression we talked about. And then he's reverted. He is not playing as crisp as he was coming into the year. So I get it, Carson. I understand the question because I think it's a fair thing to wonder. Because we're trying to assess for Jizzle, I think there's a pretty easy way to talk about that, Dave. He went from a guy that was coming off the bench and providing a spark to going straight to the top of a scouting report.
Right.
And he has not been good enough to overcome defenses knowing every tendency. The scouting report knowing this is what this guy does. This is how he's going to play. If you wait for him here, if you don't fall for this, if you if you open up a lane to the rim, because he's not going to take it. He's going to stop. He's going to jab. He's going to backstep. He's going to fade away, stay down, stay home, wait for the action, and then contest the shot. But that's also a problem. If a guy that you expected to go from freshman to sophomore and make that jump, and you anticipate, right? You anticipate it's going to take a little time to go from, back of the scouting report to top of the scouting report. It's going to take a guy a little bit of time to get that figured out. More than half a season?
Not in your third year.
Well, for Jizzle, it's the second year.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about Dan. Sorry.
No, Jizzle. I switched over to Jizzle, saying, it's understandable for him because he's a sophomore, went from the bottom of the scouting report to the top of the scouting report. You anticipate that that's going to take a little bit of
but I mean, at the end of last year, he was not at the bottom of the scouting report.
No, but it's different, Dave. It's different.
I know it is, but
he was not on tape as that guy.
Internally, but internally, aren't you saying I'm the effing man now, and everybody's going to know it? And
it's great to say that, but when the defense is loaded up on you because they're sitting there for 2 days leading up to the game saying, these are his moves, these are his go-tos, this is what you stop, you make him go here, you force this. That's what you have to overcome. That's the evolution of a basketball player.
Yeah, but I feel like based on last year where he went during his freshman season, that shouldn't have been as much of a problem as it has shown itself to be.
Well, he was also doing that in the NIT against mid-major teams where he was just a far superior athlete to their
point. He still did it at the end of the regular season.
Not really.
Conference tournament?
Not really. Against a Kansas team that had me, you, and Aaron starting for them?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not really cutting these guys
I think you're missing my overarching point. You expect there to be an adjustment when a guy goes from back up to starter. The adjustment shouldn't be 18 games.
No, definitely not.
That's my point. Some of what Jizzle is going through is understandable as the evolution of, a good player becoming a great player. You know what I mean? Taking those steps.
Right.
But it shouldn't be 18 games. We shouldn't still be talking about, why can't he be consistent? Why does it flash sometimes and we see it and then it disappears for 2 or 3 games? It doesn't, it's frustrating, but at least with him, you can kind of grasp the process and why it might be a little bit slower for him. For Dan, he's in his third year of high major basketball, or second year of high major basketball, third year in the program. For Seamus, it's his fourth year in high major basketball. These are guys that you shouldn't be worrying about. Is it going to be 1 in every 3 nights that they play well? 1 in every 4 nights that they play well? It should be 2 out of 3 games these guys are playing well. And they're not.
I'm sorry. It should be every fucking game.
Well,
now there's levels to that. I'm not saying they're going to go out and get 20 a night, but the off night should be what they're doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, for Seamus, an off night should be
11, 12, 13.
10 points.
Yeah.
He only had 2 rebounds, 1 assist. For a guy that's supposed to be, one of your facilitators on offense, 1 assist, 2 rebounds, 10 points, 1 of 7 from the floor, 1 of 4 from 3. And that's been a good night for him of late.
Right.
So, I mean, it comes back to just the rebounding stuff doesn't make any sense to me other than effort, want to, desire. What are you doing?
I'm looking something up because we talked about this last year when CMUS got hot about like the 20-point games. Since the Xavier game, that's as far back as my little app that I'm using goes, that I can look it up super quick. So that is how many games? That is, I think, 10 games. Xavier game was 10 games ago. Dan has the most points in the game at 18.
Mm-hmm.
4 best players, 3 of them coming back, 1 impact transfer, and nobody can get a 20-point game.
Yeah. CMOS since the Dayton game. Dayton game, he scored 13. He was 4 of 17 from the floor, 3 of 12 from 3. Scored 13 in that game. Since then, Grambling 7, Kansas State 4, Arizona 9, Baylor 5, Kansas 2, Colorado 16, Arizona State 10, Texas Tech 10. And in those games, he shot 16% from 3, 0% from 3, 25, 25, 0. Colorado and Arizona, 37.5 and 40, and then back to 25 last night. So he's had 2 okay shooting nights. One was Colorado. He was 3 of 8 from 3. He hit the 2 late. That, otherwise that was a disaster.
He's 37% from 3 on
and
the
then
year.
Arizona 2 of 5, and then back to 1 of 4 last night.
Yeah, like I said at the jump, they're not interesting to me. Like, it's frustrating, and I have gotten to the point where it's not even really that frustrating, because I just kind of expect it to be this. There'll be something. It was a long stretch of not being able to throw the ball in the Ohio River, and then they were able to score at least a little bit against 2 teams that I don't think really give a shit about defense. And then you don't care about rebounding, and I just like their next game. Like, what are you gonna go? Like, what can you go into the game and just being like, at least I know they'll do this. That'll at least give them a chance to win. Like, the other things might be the reason they lose, but they'll do this, and it'll give them a chance to win.
Matt, I agree. I have liked seeing CMOS be more aggressive, playing downhill and looking to score. That has been a good addition to see him back to doing more of that. But they've played 8 games since Dayton. He's made 9 threes. Like, if we're going to talk about the reason that this team is going to struggle in the Big 12 is because they can't make enough threes to keep up with teams that have a pulse, with teams that play good offense. Your number one guy, that's their number one guy from 3. That's the guy, right? That's
the whole point of an excitement behind driving more is because theoretically, if you start to show that a little bit more, it could potentially give you more space to get off the shot that we need you to make.
Teams can't close out as hard. They're not overplaying the 3. Right.
They ain't not beating teams with him making a bunch of 2s.
No. No.
Like, it's a nice compliment. And like I said, theoretically, it opens up something else for you. It's not like the go-to.
That's supposed to be what he does as they close out.
Hard.
Oh, they're closing out. Oh, shot fake.
Bad
closeout
because they're so afraid I'm going to shoot.
Attack the closeout, drive, make a play. It's not supposed to be, I have to drive because I can't shoot.
Yeah.
Right now, I can't shoot. 9 threes in 8 games from a guy that's supposed to be the shooter.
I don't remember Ferris being absent 9 times.
And
who do we play next?
You're going to be so mad at this.
Is it? Oh, is this the back-to-back 10 o'clock games? Oh yeah, there's no way I'm watching those. Is one Saturday night? Oh, I might watch that one because there's wrestling at 8, so I'll just watch the game after wrestling.
Yeah, Saturday at 10.
One in the middle of the week at 10, like, no.
And then Tuesday.
I'll check it out I'll check it out Wednesday morning if I need. Like, I'm just not staying up till midnight on a Tuesday to watch. Like, no chance.
Have they? I wonder if they've updated BYU or Utah's Ken Palm yet.
Do we play Utah then BYU?
No, BYU first Saturday night.
They've lost 5 of 6, so they're primed to get a big home win. Is the way I kind of see it.
No, they won yesterday.
Oh,
they did beat Colorado yesterday.
Okay, so they got off the schneid.
Yeah. And this is an opportunity. If you believe in like Ken Palm's projections and stuff. Utah is projected to go 10-10 in the conference. Cincinnati's projected to go 9-11. Utah is projected to win this game, or BYU is projected to win this game. Sorry, I meant BYU. Cincinnati's projected to go 9-11. BYU is projected to go 10-10. If you go into BYU and win, that would flip. You would be the team with a 10-10 projection, which would, I think, put you in the tournament. It's not a guarantee, but it would at least have you very close to the bubble, probably in the tournament.
That means we go 8-5 the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
The schedule allows for it. Are they going to be able to do it? I don't know.
The schedule might allow for it. The schedule allows for it. The players on the team don't allow for it.
Again, they have been very good in these quad 2 level games. Have not been good in the quad 1 level games, especially at home.
Like what? I mean, and I guess they play better on the road than at home, but it's like, I just why do I think they're going to go on the road and win these games? What are you watching?
Xavier St. John's tied with 51 seconds left.
Oh, exciting.
I haven't really looked. The last I looked, Xavier was the start of the half. Xavier was up 12, and I've been into our conversation here, so I have not looked to my left.
Yeah, I mean, like you talked about, the schedule allows it because we don't think that the middle. I think there's a much bigger gap between the top and the middle than we thought there was going to be. Now, I don't think there's much of a gap between the bottom and the middle. That's the scary part. Is I think the bottom is better than we thought. So, any of those games, those are toss-ups to me. But,
well, I mean, the top 5 in the league are in the top 16 in Ken Palm. 3, 4, 8.
Yes,
11.
BYU would be a quad 1 win because it's on the road. They'd be in the top. Now 70.
Utah
would be in the top 70.
Utah fell to 81. I think they were in the 60s. They fell to 81 after the drubbing at the hands of Houston. So they would be now. They have dropped to a quad 2. BYU is 38, so they are comfortably a quad 1 road win.
What did you see?
44.
What is their offensive rating now?
128, which actually I think it went up.
It probably did, but I mean, that's a 3x, 4x dive from where it was a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
What's the defense number at?
10.
I mean, it got up as high as 5.
Yeah, it was 7 going into last night. No surprise, it dropped a couple points.
Well, I mean, if you're that high and you have to play pretty great defense every night to not drop when you're in the top 10 or whatever. Yeah. But
if you're looking at Ken Palm, after you get past those top 5, Houston, Iowa State, Arizona, Texas Tech, Kansas, Baylor's 25th, BYU's 38th, West Virginia 43rd, Cincinnati 44th. So that group of 4 are all pretty close. And then it drops down pretty good. Arizona State 57. And then everybody else is between 60 and Oklahoma State's 111.
But the problem is they're all capable.
Yeah, for sure. But Cincinnati, this is to say, Cincinnati has done good in those games for the most part, but you're occasionally going to have a Kansas State on the road where you're 30 spots higher than them, but you don't shoot it well. Guess what? This team doesn't shoot it well.
Right.
And you're not offensively good enough to pull away, right? So every game
that was the Colorado game.
Yeah. You're better, but you're not offensively good enough to pull away.
Especially in the first half. That game should have been a 15 to 20 point game at halftime, and it was 7.
Yeah.
Which then put them in a position to have another one of their 4+ minute droughts, and which made it a game until 3-minute mark, 4-minute when UC actually ran some good offense. I know they scored well last night, but it didn't feel like it was.
I disagree. I thought, especially in the first half, I thought they ran really good offense.
Yeah, that's probably
really good offense.
I was tending to a child mainly in the second half, so I did not see as much of the second half as I did the first half.
Here's the problem, though, that goes back to shooting. Just we're talking about it from the Texas Tech game because it's the last one that happened, but they ran great stuff in the first half. They got downhill. Texas Tech doesn't really have rim protection. So They got downhill. They scored at the rim. They were aggressive. They got to the free throw line.
And they're still losing.
Let me get to the point, Dave. Then you get to the second half where what's Texas Tech going to say? They're killing us at the rim. We're going to pack it, right? We're not going to be able to keep them out of the lane. So we're just going to load the box. We're going to make the driving lane smaller. We're going to make it tougher to get downhill and get to the rim. And they're going to have to shoot us out of it. And they went 2 of 9 from 3 in the second half. Like, that's where it gets you. Like, they're doing a better job getting out in transition. I'll argue it's at the expense of some defensive rebounding because that's how life works. You take a little bit away from here and you add it over here. Yeah, you get better over here, but you get worse on this side. Like, this is not by any stretch of the imagination an elite team. So they're not just going to be able to say, we need to get out and run. So we're going to get some guys going the other way and trying to get points in transition. Well, there's 1 or 2 guys you got going the other way. Now they're not on the defensive glass. So when there's a loose ball that pops out, the other team's going to have more guys going for it than you do because you're trying to push. Some will say that's a fair trade-off. That if we're going to score more points in transition, it is a fair trade-off to give up a little bit of defensive rebounding until you play a team that kills you on the offensive glass and does a better job getting to loose balls and being aggressive, getting their hands on it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I wouldn't. I'm not one. I mean, I could be dead wrong, but I'm just not one to like voluntarily give up offensive rebounds, like in the name of no.
Well,
don't let the other team get offensive rebounds and then go figure out a way to score.
But to be fair, Dave, this team cannot score in the half court.
No, I know that.
So that's that's the trade-off, right? We can't score in the half court, so we have to score before their defense is set. That means we're going to have to give up a little bit on the defensive glass
It
to
didn't
be
even
able
feel
to
like
make
last
that
night
happen.
that it was giving up anything, though. A lot of those offensive rebounds were just interior guys outworking other
But it's
interior.
numbers. Again, it's numbers. Like that's my point. When you have
But they weren't
4
like
guys
long.
down
They
there,
weren't long rebounds that
no,
went
they're
to
loose
guys
balls.
because other guys that were already like outletting or something.
They're loose balls. They're able to send more guys to the ball than you because you're thinking about getting out. You're thinking about leaking
Yeah.
and not being, well, I mean, it's physics, Dave. If I'm defensive rebounding, I'm facing that way.
Yeah, I
The
get that
basket is that
part
way.
of it.
Like I got to turn around to be able to go towards, you know what I mean? Like that's not excusing it. That's saying there's a little bit of a mentality shift you have to make if you're going to be a team that tries to get out on missed shots because you can't score in the half court.
Yeah.
Like you have to do that almost. I don't think they want to do that. I don't think they have a fucking choice as bad as they've been in the half court offensively.
No.
So I don't know the fucking answers, Dave. I don't know. It seems like they try to fix something and it turns something, you know, the wheel gets squeaky over. You oil this wheel and this one gets squeaky. Like, and ultimately it comes down to they just don't have enough guys playing well.
No.
The coaching staff has to get them playing better. The players have to play better. When they've got looks, they have to make them. When they've got plays, they have to make them. When the offense calls for shit, first half last night, twice. Remember the play I was talking about last week? That play where the guy comes off the screen and cuts baseline. They threw the pass twice for an easy layup to Dylan Mitchell. They saw it. They threw the pass. He scored an easy basket. Like, that's part of why they shot 60% in the first half. Because when the play was there, they made it. Instead of, I don't think I can get this pass in there. I better pass it back out to Dribble James.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. I think everybody is rightfully frustrated because this is a team that is talented enough to be better. And they're not. And that's the ultimate frustration.
I agree with that.
Sorry, I got the hiccups.
Faux show. Oh, well.
Wasn't that fun?
Yeah.
Any final thoughts while I get these hiccups to go away?
I mean that's the overriding thought is that I don't think people are like, did we overrate them coming into the season? Nobody said that they were like an elite 8 team.
No.
I was like, yeah, I think they should be better. Is that like that much and make the tournament? Is that much of like I don't feel like I was really going out on a limb with they should be better and make the tournament because last year they almost made the tournament and they brought everybody back and added what we thought were some nice pieces. So it's not about overrating them.
I mean, what was really, I think the reasonable expectation, like let's say reasonable expectation, that was wear white in the first round of the NCAA tournament, which is an 8 seed.
Yeah.
I don't think that's like being wildly optimistic.
No,
I thought that was reasonable. Reasonable. Again, the frustrating part is, Dave, if they just beat Kansas State, they're 3-4, and everybody's annoyed because they haven't beaten the 4 best teams that they've played. But they're 3-4. They're going into a winnable stretch, and it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
They lose the Kansas State game, then they lose the next 3. Everybody doesn't press the panic button. They're like pounding the panic button. Yeah, now we'll be lucky if it's white and an 11 seed.
Oh, no. They'll be wearing white. It'll be the 3-letter tournament, not the 4-letter tournament.
He was saying now we're lucky if they're in the play-in game in Dayton wearing white.
That's going to take more than luck. It's going to take a higher power.
Oh boy! All right,
start praying to whatever you pray to.
I mean, we'll know by midnight Tuesday if they're 2-0 in this Utah trip, and they're back to 4-5, and there's at least some momentum. If they're 1-1, 3-6, like it doesn't feel great, but there's at least an opportunity. If they go 0-2, I don't know what the hell we're going to do for 6 weeks. It's not going to be a lot of fun. You're already checking out. You're already not wanting to discuss things, which makes it hard to do a podcast.
I can always talk.
That doesn't mean you pay attention. When I talk, you can talk. We gotta converse. And dude, you check out because you don't want to talk about this.
We did podcasts during some way rougher football and basketball seasons, so
I know.
I think we can figure it out, but
need to get Doug on for golf content. Actually, Doug and I talked each of the last 2 home games about having him on soon. So Doug will be on soon to at least give Dave something to talk about that makes Dave happy.
Yeah. That would be nice. I mean,
I'm just saying, I know, we've been doing this together for a long time. I know when you mentally are not into the conversation anymore, your brain starts to wander.
Yeah.
I've done this with you for a long time.
Because it works. We're right now. You can't even have a truly philosophical or in-depth conversation about okay, if they did this or if we did that, and if they made this change or if they made that, there's none of those things are on the table. There's
plenty of them. You just don't want to talk about them.
Well, but are they going to make a difference? That's the point. You can talk about lineup changes or that doesn't matter.
Right. No, look, your top 6 right now are your top 6. You're riding or dying with those 6 dudes.
Yeah.
The guys on the bench might be able to help a little, but those are your best 6 players. It is ride or die.
Yeah, their help is to maybe push you over the hump in a close game.
Right.
They're not helping you in a game like last night.
They're certainly not Christian Anderson or Kyle Overton.
Kevin Overton.
Yeah. You know those guys are, Dave?
They
scored 32 last night off the bench. Texas Tech. They scored 32 off the bench last night for Texas Tech.
Well, because they can shoot.
They did that. All right, let's timestamp the basketball segment. Brought to you by Turtles Brew. 0 sugar, 0 carbs, gluten-free. It's a bourbon-infused sweet tea at 6% ABV. They have lemonade tea. They have strawberry mint. They have cherry lime, raspberry peach, orange vanilla. There's more than 50 locations in greater Cincinnati, over 100 in and around the great state of Ohio. Visit turtlesbrew.com for more information and locations. A lot going on at the NCAA level, Dave. A lot of it feels like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. What did you think of the ACC talking about rearranging the scenarios for championship games and whatnot. Talking about potentially, did you see this?
I don't think I did. For football?
Yeah. They're talking about potentially not scheduling the last week of games so that they could have like 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3, and do like a semifinals in the final week of the regular season.
Okay.
And then the 2 winners advance to the championship, the conference championship game. They've talked about giving the number 1 seed like a bye and making the 2 and 3 seed play for it. And then those 2 would play the number 1, or the winner would play 1.
Giving them a bye.
Like giving them a free pass into the conference championship, or potentially even having the conference championship between the 2 and 3 seed, so that the 1 seed didn't have to play in the conference championship game.
Those are all terrible ideas. I don't even understand the bye one. So, like, if you're the ones, like, you only play 11 games instead of 12 games, what are you getting a bye from?
Well, I guess maybe you'd make them play like the worst team in the conference or something in that final week, like a quote unquote bye, where you would arrange for the 2nd and 3rd team to play each other. And then the winner goes on to play the 1 seed in the championship game.
I mean, just get better. Like, I don't think any of this helps you as a, like, are they trying to say this as a way to like get more teams in the playoff?
I guess that's what everybody's kind of angling for, yes. And then to not be in a position where, you know, if your best team loses the conference championship, they're out of the college football playoff.
Yeah, I don't really understand it, especially like the 1 versus 4 and 2 versus 3. So what if 4 beats 1, but
Right.
but 1 isn't that good, but maybe they're like in the 10 spot going into it, and then they lose, so they're out because they're not making the conference championship. But 4 is not good. It's not really that good, and so they're not, now they're in the conference championship, but they would have to win it to make it. I mean, the scenarios are just, I mean, like, I'm just trying to like game this out in my head right now. I'm sure I'm missing something, but like, I don't understand it at all.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to, and this is the funny thing to me. Ricky, who is JJ?
Like the walk-on guy?
The red shirt walk-on? That's red shirting? That's literally not like dressed for games? I'm so confused. He's also, and I love JJ, like one of the nicest, sweetest kids you will ever meet. He's like 5'7", 114 pounds right now. Frustrated he's not getting time.
But yeah, I don't understand any of that from.
Oh, Jizzle.
Well, he's playing a lot of minutes.
He's, okay.
Go
ahead.
I don't really understand any of that. I don't think any of it makes sense.
Well, here's the thing that we're seeing right now, apparently from the ACC. We are also seeing it in the college football playoff, where they're talking about, oh, we got to change the way that we do. You did it for 1 year. Like, you have one data point, right, and all of a sudden, like, everything's got to change already.
It was also built before you guys rated all these conferences.
Right.
Maybe you shouldn't have rated all these conferences, and your playoff would have been better.
It would have made a lot more sense.
And maybe having 18 teams in the league is hurting your playoff.
Right.
I don't know. That's just me.
I think we almost inevitably are going to have to see in these super leagues, like the split in half, and like trying to like this division plays for a championship and that division plays for a championship, and essentially like you would no longer have like a Big Ten champion, Dave. You'd have a Big Ten West champion, you'd have a Big Ten East champion, or North and South, however the hell you want to do it. But like the way that they're angling for playoff spots, like I don't know what the solution is. I think
the Big Ten already got 4 teams in, so isn't that the same as if they played East West and the champions got in, and then the other teams got like the next best teams
like
also
everybody
got in?
essentially everybody that made the championship game, all 4 teams get in.
I mean, that's what happened this year, essentially.
Essentially, yeah. I don't know. I would like to just see, can we get like 3-4 years of data like before we start making drastic changes to things after the first season?
Right.
Do you think the national title game was a deserving representation of the playoff?
Yeah, because I thought Ohio State was the best team all year.
Yeah.
And they won.
And again, I will say this because I've been pounding this drum. The only problem with the seeding was that they had to seed it properly because Ohio State lost to Michigan. Like, that's Ohio State's fault. That's not the committee's fault.
No.
That's on Ohio State. Should they have been seated higher? Sure. Sure, they should have been seated higher.
The only thing that I would
that up.
The only thing I would give significant credence to, and I actually think I would do this, is I don't think that there should be auto buys.
I do. I think there should be in the current system, if you're a champion of one of the top 4 conferences, you should get a bye. Do you hate it in the NFL?
Well, only one team
champions get a bye.
Only one team gets a bye in the NFL playoffs.
Well, but they get home games, I guess. Like they get the benefit of like the NFC Central or whatever, where the Vikings and the Lions were both,
right. Yeah, the Vikings won, so they got the bye.
And the Lions fell to the 5 seed or whatever.
No, the Lions got the bye. The Vikings
Lions,
went and played at the Rams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's essentially the same thing that's happening.
No, I just don't like I don't think that, because this year, like, Boise State should not have had a bye.
They played a great game.
Boise State got rolled by Penn State. It was not a great game.
It got ugly a little bit late. Like
it was ugly from the very beginning.
Really? I thought Boise State played close in that game. My brain might be broken.
They were never in it. I mean, maybe you give the top 2 teams a bye that win their conference, But I mean, that's probably going to be the SC in the Big Ten every year. But I mean, those guys have earned it. I mean, they've got the best players. But no, I mean,
it was 17-14 in the third quarter of that game.
Okay, it was not that. At no point in time watching that game did I ever think Boise State has a chance to win this game.
You didn't think when Boise State scored in the beginning of the third quarter to make it 17-14?
No.
It was 14-7, 17-7, 17-14. And then Penn State scored the last 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Like, that's just philosophically dishonest, Dave.
No, it's not. You can watch a game and the score can tell you one thing, and you can say the other team, that's like win probability. Just because the score is close doesn't mean that I feel like they have a chance to score and win the game.
It was 17-14 all the way until like 7 minutes left in the third quarter.
My point stands.
I'm just making sure I wasn't crazy, because I remember watching the game that was a 3-point game in the second half.
I don't think that I would consider not having four buys.
So then you're adding 2 more teams. That's the only way you can fix that.
Or you take teams away. No,
That's not happening. We are that toothpaste is out of the tube.
well, I know.
Girls thinks JJ is the starting PG.
But no, I certainly don't think that you have to see in college sports, especially college football, does this all the time where perfect gets in the way of good. It was good. It serves the purpose. The point is to get more teams involved, to have more teams having a chance to make it later in the season. That if you lose a heartbreaker week 2, your season's not over.
Yeah.
And then you play a playoff, and usually, how many times in the NFL the Chiefs have been the dominant team, but pretty much every time the team that wins the Super Bowl is the best team.
Yeah.
The team that won the college football playoff, Ohio State, was the best team. They have a Michigan problem.
Yeah. Well, and the Michigan problem was they wanted to prove how tough they were. We're gonna play in the mud.
They lost at Oregon by a point or whatever. It was 2 point.
Beginning of the season on the road.
Middle of the season, that can happen to anybody. That's not a bad thing. So no, I loved it. People talk about blowouts. I'm like, do you guys watch the 14 playoff? 65, 66.
You guys watch college football?
2/3 of the games in the 14 playoff were blowouts. We've had 2 good national championship games in the last 15 years.
2/3 of the games involving the elite teams in college football are blowouts.
Yeah, 2019 LSU almost scored 70 in the national championship game.
Yeah.
So,
don't say anything to JJ. Just leave JJ alone. If he's gonna talk crazy, just let him talk crazy. I don't know what his potential is. He's a walk-on. He's a great practice player. He's a good teammate.
I think from a playoff standpoint, they need to. And I don't want to get into this, the scheduling of it. I think people lost interest because it just felt like it took forever.
I don't know what else you could do though. You've got 4 rounds. You have to. The games have to happen at some point, and
but
they're not going to mess with the NFL. They know that.
But see, that's the problem. Just go up against the NFL. You're
going to lose the ratings.
The ratings sucked anyway.
Okay.
Who cares about your fans will watch your sport.
Dave, who cares about the ratings?
What ESPN's gonna break a contract that they've signed for how many?
But they care about the ratings. They know if they put it up against the NFL, you think they were bad now. Wait till they put that up against NFL games. Regular season NFL games.
Yeah, it was boring. You had a game on a Thursday and a Friday night, and then the national championship on a Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So
we talked
for an hour.
For an hour and 10 minutes of this podcast, we talk basketball. So just scroll over, find that little red dot, scroll it all the way back to the beginning.
45 minutes more than I wanted to.
You checked out at 30, so I at least got a good 30 out of you. I enjoyed it. But I don't think the question would be, could you go to the NFL and say, can we at least get 2 Saturdays back to play these college games? And we'll work we'll work. And the NFL is going to say no, but like, we'll work with you on a window even.
Yeah, it just felt like, and the NFL season ends. Now it ends like that first weekend in January, and the Super Bowl's February 9th, so it's a little over a month. The college football playoff was longer than that.
Well, because they did like 10 days between games instead of 7.
That's stupid.
Yeah. Thanks, 2025. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you.
But no, I wouldn't. Making some like drastic. It's 1 year,
right? Like let's see it a little bit.
Per source.
Good. Locker room should be a mess. Like they should be angry. They should be pissed off. Like
they're not that mad until they take away their practice uniforms and don't let them dress in the locker room.
Would you move college football up a week in
I think they're gonna have to.
They're gonna make week 0 week 1. Like I think they want to hold on to that facade of like Labor Day weekend is the official start of college football. I think you almost have to move it up a week. And get it done a week earlier, and then maybe you can get that Saturday before the NFL has monopolized Saturday with the Saturday games. Then you can get a round of playoffs in on that Saturday, and then go from there. So
I don't know. Just trying to think of ideas. It just felt like it certainly felt like it dragged a lot longer than the NFL playoffs do. Like, I don't feel like the NFL playoffs drag out. And that's even with a week off in between the conference championships and the Super Bowl.
Right.
This felt like it was like, Jesus, the conference championships were like the first week of December, and we had the national championship on January 20th. It just felt like it was way too long.
So I will tell you this, and I guess it probably has to do with like there's just so much going on, like basketball wise and like life wise in that month, that it doesn't seem that spread out to me. Also, UC wasn't involved, so I'm not dialed in on like, for me it was just like, hey, there's college football tomorrow night. You know what I mean? Like, the first round of the playoffs is tomorrow. Like, it didn't register in my brain that it.
No, and it's not. It doesn't register for me. Like, but it just when you say it, like.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I get it.
It took a month and a half to play 4 weeks of like.
It took 6 weeks to play 4 weeks of games, essentially. Yeah, and it does. Luckily for the sport and for ESPN, they got Ohio State, Notre Dame, which is going to draw lots of eyeballs.
It's still 22.2 was not good at all.
It's a pretty big number, I think.
That's worse than that's like considerably worse than a regular season NFL game.
That's how big the NFL is, Dave.
I know, but but it's also lower than every national championship game over the last, I couldn't even tell you how many years.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You got anything else? I don't think there's really any UC football stuff to hit on at this point in time.
No, the boys are back. They're lifting weights.
The coaches are gone. They're out on the road recruiting. You know what I've noticed? Did you notice this?
What have you noticed?
A lot of in-home visits. This was usually always like school visit time, I thought.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of like in-home, you know what I mean? Like coaches in a guy. Like, I don't know if that is a philosophy change. I don't know what that is, but I'm noticing a lot more like in-home visits.
They only have 2 Saturday home games left, so I assume one of those will be a junior day.
Really?
Yeah. Because I had a friend ask about coming up from Nashville They come to a game they've come to a game several years,
Oh yeah, West Virginia's a Sunday.
and they have 2 Saturday home games left. February 8th and February 22nd.
That they also have. No, you're right. That's away. I was thinking Oklahoma State was home. So yeah, Wednesday, Tuesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah. Well, they loaded up on the Saturday home games at the beginning of the conference schedule, and they won one.
Yeah.
How's Portal looking for football? It's essentially done. Feels like there's one more guy that's floating out there that is visiting tomorrow.
I think there could be another or two.
Okay.
I have no names, but I mean, like, there's gonna be some dudes that I imagine from Notre Dame and Ohio State that they might be interested in.
Yeah, Patrick Gerd.
That's not like we're not like. I mean, Matt Zentz wrote an article. We know that.
Yeah.
They're interested in him, and he's visiting tomorrow. But
he was on the field a lot for the national championship game.
But maybe some linemen. I would think they'd still be interested in an offensive lineman if they can find the right one.
Yeah.
Can't have too many of them. So,
for sure,
we shall see.
Big 12 looking good enough to get 2 teams. Bearcat 2025.
I have no idea.
You want me to tell you how good the Big 12 is looking for something that's not going to happen until December of next year? That's 11 months from now. I don't know what's happening in 11 days in my life.
I don't think I could name outside of Thorsby. I don't think I can name any other team's projected starting quarterback at this point. Trying to think. I mean, I'm going through teams in my head, like Colorado, don't know. Oh, Arizona State, Sam Levitt, he'll be their quarterback. Arizona, don't know. BYU, don't know. Utah, maybe the Wilson guy. Kansas, don't know because Jalen Daniels is gone. UCF, don't know. Like, no idea.
Ricky, I never said that. I don't know if he's the guy or not. Like, you guys are killing me tonight. You guys are killing me tonight.
I'm gonna ban the chat.
Ban the chat. You guys are out.
Unless you start donating money, then we're gonna ban the chat.
If Dive Bar wants to give me some money, we will do a pod there in the future. I am for sale.
Is that a place?
Yeah, Dive Bar.
Oh, okay.
I am for sale, Dave. I am a sellout.
Absolutely.
You want me to do something and you pay me, I will probably do it. That's
yeah.
That is how I roll.
What do they call it? Not we'll spill all the tea. We'll do a meet and
off
greet.
The record. Yeah, off the record.
Meet and greet. You show up, we'll tell you all the stories.
No recording, no phones. You got to put your phones in one of those.
Yeah, we'll tell you all the times. We'll tell you all the times the athletic department has told Chad to shut me up, or tried to shut me up.
They don't do that anymore. They generally it's just like Chad, Dave.
And what is the response? Is he wrong?
I say, I'll talk to him. And then I go, Dave, and you go, no. And I go, I talked to him.
Wasn't from the Bearcat Journal account.
No. All right. I think that's that's all we got for tonight. I think we had enough fun. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. Hopefully, by the time we get back here next week, we got 2 wins to talk about, Dave. When's Dave diving in the draft? We should do, Dave. We should do a Dave with George and Aaron like draft episode
I
where you
haven't
guys just
even-
dig into the draft.
I haven't even started. We got too much time. That's after the combine
You single or what, Dave? Or what?
or what? Depends how much money you got.
Oh shit. Let's get out of here before anything bad happens. That is the BCJ podcast. Thanks to Cincy Light. Thanks to Turtles Brew. Thanks to the Holy Grail. We'll see you next time right here on BearcatJournal.com.